Hey, thanks for tuning in to Ducks Hockey and More, everybody. Don't forget to go down and subscribe. Smash that like button. It helps me out a lot. Helps out the channel. Keeps it rolling. Got to do it. So please help me out. Do that. We're going to go over yesterday's game. Now, yesterday was Saturday, and there was a bunch of games on tap. They got that were some pretty wild scores, some interesting games. So we're going to go through all those and talk about them. So stick around. Okay, so let's talk about these games, right? So let's talk about Saturday's games, starting with New York Islanders and the Detroit Red Wings. The Islanders were shut out. The game was a 3-0 score. Detroit won the game. Detroit's one of those teams where they started off the year really well, stumbled a little bit. Now they're back on that winning road again. So, good for Detroit and Stevie Y. The Islanders have been playing pretty well as of late as well, surprising a lot of people, including myself. And but they hit a brick wall with Detroit at least. So 3-0 Detroit in that one. The Avs and the Jackets were playing over in the Global Series in Europe. Avs beat them up pretty good, 5-1. Not surprising considering the Columbus Blue Jackets are just not doing well. Kind of like the Ducks, the San Jose's of the world, the Arizonas of the world, Vancouver's of the world, struggling. So 5-1 Avs over the Jackets. The Hawks and Jets went at it. The Jets and Connor Hellebuck are playing well, and who I thought going into the season the Jets would be a potential wild card team, are playing better than just a wild card team. They're playing like they want to get into the top 3 in the Central. I like what the Jets are doing. And really it comes down to the Jets. They have a solid team. It's a well-rounded team. They don't have anybody that just stands out as like a huge scorer. They just have a good overall team. What for them, and I've said this before, defense and goaltending wins championships. Well, Connor Hellebuck has to be good to keep the Jets in it day in and day out and allow them to try to make the playoffs. So he's been doing that lately. Jets are reaping the rewards. They're winning games. So Jets win 4-0 over the Hawks. And the Hawks have been a surprise too. They're not in the bottom feeder group. They're actually kind of in the middle of the West right now. So they're doing a lot better than expected. Good for them. Will it continue? Probably not. Probably not. I think they're going to find themselves down at the bottom of the league once we get going here towards the end of the season. The second half of the season is when we really start to see teams separate. Big time, you know what I mean? So the cream always rises to the top, and it's that second half of the season where you really start to see that. So anyway, long story short, Hawks are doing well considering, but they lost last night 4-0. Stars, here's a team that's just cranking, surprising the heck out of me. I did not expect the Stars to be doing this well this early in the season or at all this season. They're not a bad team. I never thought that they were going to do horribly, but not at this level. They're playing really well. 6-2, and this is over a team, the Oilers, that has been playing very well in terms of putting the puck in the net. The Oilers, we all know, have the scorers where they can put 5, 6, 7 on you on a nightly basis, but not last night. Stars shut them down, 6-2. So good for the Stars, not so good for the Oilers, who are showing that they need some help on the back end, guys. Defense and goaltending. That's their biggest issue. And what wins championships? Defense and goaltending, right? So I talk about it all the time. I'll say it till I die. Defense and goaltending wins championships. Moving on. Coyotes. Coyotes and the Capitals went at it. Nick Ritchie of the Arizona Coyotes. Now, he's a former Duck. Ducks drafted Nick Ritchie. He's been moved around a couple of teams since we let go of him. Landed in Arizona last year, I think at the trade deadline, but he is surprising. He's doing well. I think he's found a home in Arizona. I think he's having one of the best years he's ever had right now with Arizona. So anyways, he had a great game last night. I think Caps were up, I believe, in this one, and then the Coyotes came back, took the lead 3-2 and won it. So good for the Coyotes. Not so good for the Caps, but Moving on from that one, here's a great game. Toronto Maple Leafs fans are probably pretty excited about the outcome last night because the Leafs won. They beat the Boston Bruins, the high-flying Boston Bruins. They beat them 2-1, shut them down. So good for the Leafs. They had a horrible road trip where they went, I think it was 2-1 over the whole span of the road trip, and they lost some games where, especially they lost to the Ducks at the end of the road trip in overtime, and I believe especially they lost the lead. And ended up losing it to us in overtime. But again, they were playing on the second half of a double back-to-back, so we had the advantage because of that. We came back at the end of the game and won it. Look, a lot of Leafs fans were pretty pissed about their road trip and just the Leafs' overall play, right? So understandably, their defense is struggling. I've talked about it in previous videos. The Leafs are going to have to make a move this year. And when I say make a move, bring in a defenseman from some other team. Is it going to be Jacob Chikrin? Is it going to be, somebody off the Ducks? A Klingberg, a Shattenkirk, somebody, from is going to have to shore up their defense. And then the goaltending side of things. Now, when Matt Murray comes back, hopefully Matt Murray is healthy and plays well and doesn't get injured for the remainder of the year, and he can be that number one for them. They need that desperately. And I knew that when Matt Murray got injured that was not going to be good for the Leafs and that they were going to have to outscore their opponents to try and win games. Now, last night was not like that. They won 2-1 over a juggernaut team right now in terms of goal production. So, Leafs, I think there was a message sent with that horrible road trip. Obviously, their fans weren't happy. I'm sure the coaching staff was a little bit perturbed, and I'm sure the ownership and everything was upset about how they've been playing so far this year. It's still early. There's no way too early to be thinking about throwing in the towel in Toronto. They have half their salary tied up in 4 great players that can put the puck in the net. Now, are they good two-way players? Well, there's a lot to be said about that, but they can definitely score on you. And so I think the Leafs are hopefully righting the ship and realizing, okay, how to play and how to win games. And it's okay to win 2-1. It's okay to win a one-goal game. Just got to win them. But good for the Leafs. They won. They beat a really good team in Boston. They won 2-1. Hey, moving on real quick. Sabres and Tampa. Tampa won this one 5-3. Buffalo's been one of those surprise teams playing very well. Tampa Bay has been kind of, I think the Tampa train that was doing so well for years, going to the Stanley Cup Final 3 years in a row, is finally starting to kind of slow down. They lost some players in the offseason, and this year it's kind of showing that they're just not the same team. I think they're either really tired from all this, postseason play, 3 years in a row, going to Stanley Cup Final 3 years in a row. That's taxing on players. But is that part of it? Maybe a little bit. And I said that they're missing some pieces that they had in the previous years, like McDonough and the Palots of the world. So, listen, Tampa Bay is no longer the juggernaut Tampa Bay. They're not going to be horrible. They're not going to be super, super good, though. It's showing. So, that being said, they did beat a good Buffalo team. So 5-3 over the Sabres. Sabres will continue to do well. I'm not, this is just a minor setback, and then hopefully for Tampa, this is something that might get some momentum for them, and they might climb the standings a little bit. But 5-3, Tampa over the Sabres. Next game, Flyers and Sens, 2-1. Flyers, Tortorella's Flyers beat the Ottawa Senators. Now here's the Senators real quick. Talking about Ottawa, here's a team that I expected to be doing quite well as far as goal production and offensive type of stuff. They've in the beginning of the year they kind of were stumbling out of the gate, and then they started to pick it up, and it was like, okay, there go the Sens. That's what we expected, right? And then now it's been like, well, what's going on in Ottawa? Is it the ownership thing? I've heard they're not going to move the team. They're selling it, but they're not going to allow them to leave Ottawa. So, weight off the back there. But why are the Sens all of a sudden not putting the puck in the net? It's something I should probably look into a little bit deeper and figure out what's going on, or at least get my 2 cents on it. But Flyers beat them. The Tortorella's Flyers are, again, this is one of those teams where who would have expected this? Certainly not me. Not me. But they won 2-1. They're doing really well out there in Philly. Here's a game that was I watched a good chunk of it, and I'm definitely on the Seattle bandwagon. I've talked about it in previous videos that I like Seattle. I like what they've done. I like the logo, their team colors, everything about Seattle. I like it. It's pretty cool. They're doing well. They won 4 in a row. They beat the Penguins in Pittsburgh 3-2 last night. They're rolling right along. They look good. Ron Francis made a bunch of moves to improve depth scoring up and down the lineup, and it's working. The things that he's done have greatly improved this team, and it's showing. And I had a feeling this was going to happen. Not quite to this level, but I knew Seattle, with the additions that they did in the offseason, were going to be a better team. I mean, Justin Schultz, Burakovsky, a lot of these names and these players that came in the offseason have made a huge impact. You can even say Daniel Sprong, who isn't like a huge impact player, but he's made an impact, and I think he got signed on from a professional tryout. It's not like he was, hey, we want Daniel Sprong. He had to earn that spot, but he earned it, and he's playing well. So, hey, Seattle, keep rolling. They won again. They beat Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh's one of those teams where they came out of the gate flying. They looked really good. Got lots of scorers, lots of talent on that team. But we're starting to see Pittsburgh issues, right? They've lost, I think it's 4 in a row, and they're starting to slide. So Pittsburgh fans, you ought to start thinking, man, I don't know, maybe we're not there unless they can right the ship here soon and get going. It's real easy to lose ground in their division over there because those teams are good, and if you get too far behind, you're never going to catch them. You're not going to catch them. So Pittsburgh can't afford to do that. They need to right the ship and start winning some games. Let's go on quick. Vegas 6, Montreal 4. So Vegas 6, Montreal 4. Vegas just keeps rolling. Vegas right now is playing like they want to win the cup, and they were not my pick in the West to represent the West in the Stanley Cup final. My pick is the Edmonton Oilers. And I kind of figured, well, I think it's going to go through either Calgary or Edmonton in the West. Well, enter Vegas, okay? Las Vegas is showing that they are back in a big way. They missed the playoffs last year for the first time in their short franchise history. But they are back, and they are showing it. And man, Vegas is they're just running right now. They're going, and they're not stopping. And this Thompson's a great goalie. He's doing really well for them, which was kind of the issue going into the whole thing with Robin Leonard being injured. And he, it's like, okay, what's Vegas going to do? Well, Thompson stepped up big time. I would have never thought this was going to happen this year with Vegas. Didn't expect him to be crap, but not this good. You know what I mean? So credit to the Vegas Golden Knights. They're playing really well. They've got a new coach, and they're rolling. They're doing really well. So Vegas wins again. They beat Montreal 6-4. Moving on, Preds and Vancouver. I want to talk about this game because Vancouver blew a 3-goal lead. They did. They lost to the Predators in a shootout. They had a 3-0 lead, folks. It was 3-0 Vancouver in the first period. 3-0. They lost. They allowed the Predators to come back, tie the game in the third, and then it went to an overtime, which nobody scored. Shootout, Predators won. I love it. I don't know why I love it. I'm like this anti-Vancouver thing. Like, ever since I've watched it, there's been so much buzz about, one, the Vancouver Canucks have never won a Stanley Cup. Two, they don't want to admit that they need to go into a rebuild, or they need to go into some sort of rebuild and revamp this team, and get it right. Bruce Boudreau isn't the problem. He really isn't. He's a good coach. I think this is a player thing. I mean, it's to lose leads like that. It's one thing like Anaheim, for example. Okay, they don't lose leads so much. They have, but they always will try to get back into it. They don't. The Ducks aren't consistent, and neither are Vancouver. I mean, it is similar, but we're talking 2-3 goal leads evaporate. Nothing. I mean, as a Vancouver fan, as a Vancouver player, how do you put up with that? How can you allow that consistently? We're not just talking a couple here, no, almost nightly. Even when they played the Ducks, that was a wild game. And Vancouver won it 8-5, okay? But at one point, it was literally like 5-2. Vancouver had it. I was watching going, good God. They allowed the Ducks to come back. And it was like, oh, wow, is this going to happen? And they didn't allow it to happen. They ended up putting more goals in because Ducks are horrible. That we allow goals like it's, kids at a candy store. But Vancouver, man, I don't know. You guys are Vancouver fans have every right to be pissed about the way their team's playing, because I think you should be doing a lot better. Just like I feel like the Ducks should be doing a lot better, but Vancouver should be doing way better. They had a great end of the season when Boudreau took over last year, and where's that? And it's not Boudreau's fault. I'm telling you right now, he's a good coach. Something's going on. I don't know what it is. Vancouver fans, tell me, what do you think it is? What's the problem in Vancouver? Comment below. Let me know. Anyways, they lost to the Preds in a shootout after giving up a 3-goal lead. Moving on, New Jersey Devils 4 and the Flames 3 in overtime. The Devils keep rolling. They beat a good Calgary Flames team 4-3, and I believe that was in Calgary too, by the way. So go Jersey. They're like in the top 10 of the power rankings. Who would have thought that? Not me. Not me. Devils fans are stoked right now. I'll tell you right now. Here's a wild game I want to touch on a little bit more, and then we're done. But Kings in Florida, okay? Kings won the game 5-4. This was in LA. Florida's on a big road trip right now, and that Florida plays the Ducks tonight. I wanted to talk. Not only was it pretty high scoring game, but Keith Tkachuk. I always say Keith Tkachuk because when I was watching hockey in my younger years, Keith Tkachuk was a regular player that I watched a lot. But because Arizona used to be in the Pacific Division with the Ducks, I saw a lot of Keith Tkachuk. So when I think Tkachuk, it always just comes out Keith Tkachuk. So I apologize. Matthew Tkachuk, who is a very Corey Perry-ish type of guy, an agitator, kind of like a Ryan Kessler type of guy. There are lots of names I could probably throw out there, but Matt Tkachuk he's a good player. He's a good hockey player, but he's the type of guy, and I've said this before, you want him on your team, you don't want to play against him because he's an agitator. And it's one thing to be a bit of an agitator to kind of stir the pot a little bit, but it's another thing to be a dirty agitator. And Matthew Tkachuk has lost all credibility, in my opinion, after last night. And based on his actions this year so far, I thought that Florida was going to benefit from having a Matthew Tkachuk in their lineup, add some grit, add some oomph. And almost it's like, well, he's not even bringing that really so much as he's making the Florida Panthers not that fun to watch team that put up goals left and right. It's almost, I don't know. He's dirty. Go and watch highlights of the Ducks and Florida game last night. Watch the highlight of Matthew Tkachuk standing in front of Jonathan Quick. As the play ended, I think Jonathan Quick covered the puck, so he's on all fours on the ice. Tkachuk is off to his left with his stick in his hand, and he knew where his stick blade was, and he kind of stuck it out, twisted his stick, and as he twisted his stick, the blade of the stick went into the face mask, in through the the holes, if you will, in the face mask and everything right into his face. Now, it wasn't violent in any way. He did it very subtly. But the fact that he knew where his stick was and he kind of just went, twisted it right into his face, and then he skated off like he had nothing to do with it. That's dirty, people. And I really hope that the league sees this and does something about it. He needs to be suspended, fined. They need to take action against Matthew Tkachuk and his actions, not only because of what he's done so far this year, but that was dirty. Now, I'm a Ducks fan, so Kings losing, Kings anything, getting injuries, not doing well, is music to my ears, okay? But that's dirty. And Matthew Tkachuk deserves to get some kind of suspension, some kind of slap on the hand that's not just a tiny little slap on the hand, but a big slap on the hand. Send a message to Matthew Tkachuk. Please, NHL, if you're watching, probably not, but you should be, he needs to pay for his actions. So, listen, he has lost all credibility with me. Matthew Tkachuk's a dirty player. I hope that the league does what they need to do and does the right thing. So, hey, that wraps it up. Go down, subscribe, smash the like button, comment below, tell me what you think. I really like responding to your comments, and I really appreciate that you guys have stuck around and watched the video and keep coming back to the channel. I really appreciate it. And if you're just coming through for the first time, hey, subscribe. I'm talking hockey all the time. And if you have something you want me to talk about, comment below. Let me know. I'll put something together and we'll talk about it. This is a Ducks primary channel. I'm an Anaheim Ducks fan, so I talk Ducks. They are the team. But I also like to talk about the rest of the NHL because there's a lot going on. And I like to let everybody know about how I think about things and my opinion and whatnot. So, hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.